Marriage is a funny thing. I can remember when I was courting, I went to my dad and I said, "Dad, I want to marry Mary from the end of the road." He said, "You can't marry Mary from the end of the road." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, the thing is, she could be your sister." When I was a young man, I used to get around a bit. I had a bike. I said, "Oh, well, why can't I marry, how about I'll marry Sarah from over the other side of the park?" He said, "I'm sorry, you can't marry Sarah from over the other side of the park." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, it's the same thing. When I was a young man, I used to get around a bit. I had a bike." I said, "All right, well, look, I've got to get spliced," I said, "so I'll marry Sharon. She's right on the other side of the town." He said, "Sorry, son." I said, "You've got to be joking." He said, "No," he said, "it's possible. When I was a young man, I did used to get about. I had a bike." Well, I was terribly upset, as you can imagine. Inconsolable. Mum saw me in floods of tears. She said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I wanted to marry Mary from the end of the road." She said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, Dad says I can't." Dad says she might be my sister because he was a young man. He used to get about a bit. He had a bike. She said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, why don't I marry Sarah from the other side of the park?" He said, "Same thing. When he was a young man, he used to get around a bit. Had a bike." And then I said, "Even Sharon, the other side of the town." He said, "No good. Used to get around a bit, had a bike." My mum said to me, "Russ, you marry who you want. He's not your real father anyway."